Hi, and welcome to my talk. Really excited to be here today and take part in the 2020 Games for Change Festival. Thanks again to Susanna and Jesse for asking me. So today I'm going to do a deep dive into Preloaded and BBC Studios' spatial computing natural history documentary, BBC Earth Microkingdoms. But before I do that, I'm going to do some scene setting on the AR and spatial computing space generally. It's a really fast-moving space, and I wanted to make sure we're all really well orientated and also can be as excited about this space as I am. But first, I'm going to start with some introductions. My name is Phil Stuart. I'm the creative director of Preloaded. And of those that don't yet know, Preloaded is an immersive game studio. And we're passionate about, here's the next slide, this, play with purpose. So the use of play and playful technologies to create experiences that go way beyond pure entertainment. And we make everything from educational games to museum exhibits, all the way through to things like factual and authentic immersive storytelling. So who do we do this for? Well, we work with a really broad range of clients, from broadcasters and global brands to toy companies and technology partners. And we do everything from early stage R&D and innovation sprints, imagining the future of play, to building immersive platforms and products, and even running live operations. And we work with a really broad range of technologies, from traditional games tech all the way through to VR and everything in between. And here's some stuff we've made. So today I'm going to talk specifically about spatial computing, a possibility space which has been made possible by the convergence of a few different technologies, specifically computer vision and machine learning. And it's been driven forward by some of the most heavily invested in startups and largest tech platforms in the world. And the speed at which this space is moving is absolutely bonkers. And the impact it's going to have on society is going to be profound. It's going to transform what, where, and how we consume digital content forever. Now, before I dive into microkingdoms, I'm going to do that scene setting. And I wanted to start by talking about augmented reality, or AR as it's commonly known. So augmented reality is, as you guys may know, augmented reality is the placing of digital content into our world and viewed through a phone or tablet's camera feed. Now, Apple and Google have led this with their AR Kit and AR Core technology, catalyzing the use of AR in apps and building consumer awareness through the proliferation of these apps through their app stores. So let's see an example of the sorts of AR you can experience on the most basic of mobile phones. So this example is our BAFTA-winning project, A Brief History of Stunts. I'm going to quickly show you a video, and then so you can see AR in action. I'll talk about it very quickly.
What if you fall?
What you got there?
I'll get crushed to death by the thousands of tons of water
Oh, look at that.
that's crashing down below me.
Is that a good idea at your age?
Age ain't nothing but a number. Here we go. Time to blow away some wrinkles.
That is wow.
So this was created for the OneScope app, which is a voice-driven augmented reality experience, which transforms ordinary spaces into extraordinary stories. And this was created with Chris Milk and his studio Within almost 18 months ago now. So as you can see, the content layers on top of your camera feed. Now, Apple love WonderScope because it moves AR from a gimmick to something with a start, a middle, and an end. For them, it's a demonstration of AR's potential as a storytelling medium. But for me, AR is much more than just a storytelling tool. It represents a fundamental shift in how we actually interact with digital content. Now, I spent most of my career trying to get people to look at screens, but now AR is presenting us with this opportunity to look back through the screens, back into our world. And I find this simple concept absolutely tantalizing. Now, Tim Cook believes that AR will deliver the kind of seismic shift in media consumption that the mobile had. And when Tim Cook says that, he doesn't mean today's AR. He's referring to this concept of digital blended with our real world. This is the big idea. And this goes way beyond the humble mobile phone. And he knows that too. And for a company that's been built by iPhones, that's quite a thing. So what do I mean when I say beyond the mobile phone? Well, I'm of course referring to hands-free AR delivered via a lens or a headset or a pair of glasses. Something maybe a little bit like Snap Inc.'s spectacles. Now, these allow you to layer content into your world. And that, whilst this isn't real time, it shows where we're headed. And of course, where we're headed is here. Apple's glasses are going to be announced late 2020 and on the market 2021, late 2021. And with Apple's product design sensibilities, mainstream adoption of lens-based AR is simply just a matter of time. And this is going to change everything forever. We'll never be able to go back from this point. A world where digital and physical worlds coexist. Now, the quality of this blended reality will evolve over time as the technology evolves, just like the iPhone did. At the start, it's simply going to be layered content in our world, very much like I showed you in Wonderscope. But if you want to understand where we're actually headed, to get a better view of the future, if you like, you need to look through these things. Platforms like Magic Leap or HoloLens, these guys are at the cutting edge of spatial computing. And before I talk about micro kingdoms, which we created for Magic Leap, I wanted to unpack what Magic Leap actually is and why it's so different to what we can do with standard mobile phones or even Apple's glasses when they first arrived. Now, the principal difference is that Magic Leap has depth cameras. Now, these depth cameras allow us to create a 3D map or mesh of your space. And when you have that, you can put content into that space in a really accurate way. So you can put content onto your coffee table or next to your coffee mug or on the floor or on the wall or behind your sofa. And we call this spatial context, and it allows you to tailor experiences to the audience's world. Now, in 2019, Magic Leap selected 30 projects to build out their ecosystem. And I'm very proud to say that Preloaded made 2 of these. And today I'm going to talk about one of them because I only have 20 minutes. And that is Micro Kingdom Senses. So Micro Kingdoms is a spatial computing natural history documentary created for Magic Leap. It launched earlier this year. And I'm going to start by showing you a short trailer, and then I'm going to unpack the project in a little bit more detail. Have a look.
Welcome to Micro Kingdoms. I'll be your guide. On a journey into the unseen world of animal senses, where you'll meet 2 extraordinary creatures. Off we go.
Love that crunch at the end. So Micro Kingdoms is a co-pro with BBC Studios, and it is, and if you don't know, BBC Studios is the commercial arm of the BBC, who are responsible via their natural history unit for creating some of the most loved and well-known natural history documentaries in the world. So perhaps the first question is, why are we Preloaded? Why are the BBC, why are the natural history unit interested in innovative technologies like spatial computing? Well, actually, next slide. Actually, natural history filmmakers have a long history of using the latest technology to tell new stories. So from high-speed cameras capturing how birds fly to macro lenses allowing us to bring the microscopic world to life, or things like deep sea submersibles exploring the hidden depths of our oceans for the first time, or even like the use of drones to silently capture nature from new angles in new ways. New technologies have found new stories to be told and enable new ways of telling those stories. So the question for us was, how can spatial computing be used to tell a new story? What is the story that's unique to this medium, to the medium of spatial computing? Now, to answer that question, you need to understand the technology, you need to understand the affordances of the tech, and you need to understand what creative opportunities they afford. So to do this, you need to play with it. And when we kicked off this project, we'd never actually used the Magic Leap headset. So this was a completely new thing for us. And they arrived, and we unpacked them. And this is like $20,000 worth of kit, if you're interested. And so once it was unpacked, we began a very intensive discovery phase in which we learned what is incredible about technology, and also where the edges are, like where the opportunity space is potentially. And also little things like, does the digital scale match the real world scale? And the image on the right shows one of our designers seeing if a digital 5 centimeter cube actually is 5 centimeters in the real world. And that might sound a bit pedantic, but when you're talking about creating authentic experiences and working with people like the Natural History Unit, you really need to get that detail right. And of course, we began to prototype as well. And so there's a range of prototypes here, some looking at scale, some looking at color ranges, some looking at interactivity, some looking at performance, things looking at clipping planes, a whole variety of stuff. And we learned a lot in this process. We learned a lot about the technology. We learned a lot about the challenges we had ahead of us, because the tech is amazing, but actually it's still very early, and there's still lots of heavy lifting to do. And we also, from a design perspective, learned two key things. Firstly, that bringing creatures into your world was awesome as expected, but it was just to see it and to have them there was hugely reassuring. But also that meaningful interaction with those creatures was going to be really important in creating a really compelling and realistic experience. So following the prototyping, we distilled our thinking into two core pillars. And they were, the first one, animals in your world. So using spatial computing technology to bring animals and their behaviors into your world with authenticity and realism was going to be absolutely key. And the second one was this concept of active storytelling. So creating an active experience which responds to your world and your interaction. So not just what you're interacting with, but also your world space, to create a story you feel part of and feels part of your environment. So for the rest of the talk, I was going to unpack these pillars and show you how they've contributed to a really unique natural history experience. And I'm going to start with number one. I'm going to start with the animals. So from the video, you would have seen there are ants in it, and the particular ants are leafcutter ants. And leafcutter ants form some of the most complex animal societies on our planet. They're also the only creature apart from us to farm their food, which I find absolutely fascinating. Now, they're found all over the world, but we chose to focus on those from the tropical rainforests of Central America. Now, as many of you know, leafcutter ants go about their world, kind of collecting leaves and bringing them back to the colony. That's the kind of classic shot that we're all familiar with. But they don't actually eat the leaves. They instead turn them into compost to feed the ant larvae underground. It's this sort of elaborate and very well organized micro farming system they have. Now, I love these guys. We've worked, if you know our output, we've made games about these guys before, and I was really excited to bring them into the spatial computing platform. This is actually them this is like in-engine shot. Now, in order for leafcutter ants to be successful, they've developed an astonishing sense of smell, which they use to find leaves and communicate with each other. Now, they don't use noses like us. Instead, they have these antennae that pick up airborne odors and deliver scent information to odor receptors that are all over the body. And they have more of these receptors than any other instinct in the animal kingdom. Now, they also lay down pheromones to help guide and signal to their fellow ants, effectively creating these sort of scent pathways, these super highways, which other ants can follow. Now, this invisible world of the sense of taste was something that we wanted to visualize. In fact, it felt like something that was perfectly suited to the platform. So how do you visualize smell? Well, we had a few ideas, and those are on the left. A kind of a combination of northern lights meets a sort of vaporish, smoky trail sort of aesthetic. And on the right, you can see the pheromone trails in action, with a line of ants collecting food from a specific food source, taking it back to the colony. And then this screen capture just shows how we're representing the chemical signatures of different types of food, which became a core mechanic in the experience itself. Okay, so that's the ants. Going to move on to the next creature, the wandering spider. Now, we knew we wanted a big spider, and this is about as big as they get. Wandering spiders can be found all over the world, places like Africa and Australia. These ones are actually from the Atlantic forest of eastern Brazil. Now, they spend most of their time wandering around, looking badass and looking for prey. And in micro kingdoms, they're focused on capturing one of their favorite foods, crickets. Now, how they catch things like crickets is they use their extraordinary sense of touch that analyzes the vibrations and movements of air around it. This whole body is covered in thousands of specialized hairs. You can see them there, and tiny holes that sense the smallest of vibration around them, effectively turning them into these sort of walking sensory systems that tells them everything they need to know about the world around them and how to survive and thrive in the forest. So in our experience, we wanted to visualize this invisible sense, in fact, make it a core part of the experience like we did with taste. So when something moves, the idea was that it would send vibrations into the world that the spider would be able to detect. So on the left, there's some references of like how that could look, some inspiration for us. And on the right, you can see the vibrations created by a stone being dropped onto a table and it kind of rippling through. And this concept of vibrations and visualizing them is core to the whole spider chapter, and it helps the audience see the world how they see it. Okay, on to the second pillar. So active storytelling. With active storytelling, a key aspect is giving you presence in the world. So the world and the animals are aware of you and that they're aware of what you're looking at or what you're interacting with. Now, to achieve this, the animals need AI so they can respond to you and your presence in the world in an authentic way. And we prototyped that early and we knew that was going to work brilliantly. So this became something we just doubled down on. So for example, in the ant chapter, you can pick up a leaf and place it in the world and the ants will move towards it. You can lure them out of the colony to go and collect it. You can also redirect their interests around the world and help them complete their mission of collecting leaves for the larvae. In the spider chapter, you can scare the spider by dropping big rocks, or as I explained earlier, you can create vibrations which can then lure them out in search of food. If you find particularly small stones, you can drop them. They feel like crickets to the spider, and the spider will come out. So as you interact, you experience natural and authentic behaviors, and you're experiencing nature in a way only an interactive medium can deliver. You're experiencing stories unique to this medium. But active storytelling is much more than simply interacting with the story itself. As I explained, Magic Leap allows you to build a complete picture of your environment. So this allows us for the story to be able to adapt to the world, for it to become part of the world. So the story becomes contextual to your location, allowing ants to like crawl around your coffee mug or down the table, or have a spider hide behind your sofa. This dynamic contextual storytelling is at the heart of spatial storytelling and is so exciting, such an exciting new opportunity space for storytellers. So I wanted to end this talk with a quote from Doug Hope, and Doug's a bit of a legend in natural history, and we're very fortunate enough to have him exec this project. He said, BBC Studios Natural History Unit's ambition is always to connect new audiences in new ways to the wonders of the natural world. With this project, we're achieving that in a way we never dreamt was possible. The spatial storytelling is opening up that possible, and this is what really interests me. How technologies can afford new ways to connect with audiences, new ways for experience and to experience things and to better understand our world. Now, this talk was about bringing the natural world into your living room, the space we currently experience high quality content on TVs, where we play games, where we come together as friends and family. Technology will transform this space from a place where we watch flat screen-based experiences to a place which envelops us with spatialized content. The revolution will start there, but very soon these experiences won't be limited to your living room, but they'll go everywhere, delivered via the AR cloud or the metaverse. Spatial computing is transforming what, where, and how we consume digital content. And as the technology gets simpler and cheaper and cooler, the tipping point will come. And as designers and creators and developers, we all need to be ready. Thank you for listening to my talk. I hope you enjoyed it. A small plug, if you don't mind, if you're interested in the AR and spatial computing space, we've created a tech agnostic and audience-centric guide, which you can find on our website at preloaded.com/AR. Thank you very much for listening.